I was pushing a mop down the east hallway of Millhaven Elementary when she stopped me. I didn't hear her at first. The floor buffer 2 halls over was running, and I had my head down the way I always do, watching the baseboards, making sure I got the corners. 31 years of floors, and I still checked the corners. Then I felt the stillness, the kind a person makes when they've planted themselves, and they are not moving until you look up. I looked up. She was maybe 65, dressed the way people dress when money has been around long enough to stop announcing itself. A gray wool coat, good shoes, a leather bag that probably cost more than my truck. She was holding a manila envelope in both hands, pressed flat against her coat like she was trying to keep it from shaking. She said my full name, both names, Calvin Ray Duvain. Nobody calls me that. My son Theo calls Dad. The principal calls me Cal. The woman who'd said my full name the last time I could remember was my grandmother. And she'd been gone 11 years. I set the mop handle against the wall. "Can I help you?" She held the envelope out. She didn't come closer, just extended it across the hallway tile, like the distance between us had to stay exactly that wide. "My name is Margaret Solon," she said. "I've been looking for you for a very long time." I took the envelope. It was heavier than it looked. She told me she would be in town until the following afternoon. She gave me a card with a phone number. Then she walked back down the hallway toward the front entrance, her heels quiet on the freshly mopped floor, and she was gone before I thought to say anything at all. I didn't open it until Theo was asleep. I sat at the kitchen table with a glass of water I didn't drink, and I held the envelope for a while. The return address on the card said a law firm in Hartford, Connecticut. Margaret Solon. The name meant nothing to me. I was adopted at 3 days old by Roy and Delia Duvain of Sutter County. Good people, both gone now, and they'd told me what they knew, which wasn't much. A young woman, alone, not able to keep him. That was the whole sentence. I'd lived inside that sentence my whole life and made my peace with it. Or I thought I had. Inside the envelope there were 3 things. The first was a photograph. A young woman, 19, maybe 20, in a hospital bed, holding a newborn wrapped in a blue cloth. She was looking at the camera with the expression of someone who has just made a decision they know they can't unmake. Even at 19, even in that photograph, I could see the woman in the gray wool coat. The set of the jaw, the stillness. The second thing was a trust document. My name on the cover page, Calvin Ray Duvain. A sum of money I will not write down because it is not the point of this story. It has never been the point. The third thing was a letter, 4 pages, handwritten, small, even script, the handwriting of someone who measures every word. She'd been 19 and alone and terrified, and she'd done the only thing she believed would give me a life. She'd watched from a distance through the years she could. Birthday cards to the agency that were never forwarded. A private investigator she'd hired at 32 who'd found Roy and Delia and confirmed I was well and stopped there because she'd told him to stop. There she'd built a company over 40 years, a consulting firm, mid-sized, successful. She'd never married. She'd told almost no one. Almost. That word caught me. I read the paragraph again. I told almost no one, a therapist once, for a few sessions. I could not bring myself to say it to anyone who knew me. I am ashamed of that silence, more than anything else. I sat with that for a long time. Theo had left his backpack on the chair beside me. A drawing was sticking out of the front pocket. A house with a large yellow sun, 2 stick figures out front, one tall and one small, both of them with the same lopsided smile. He'd drawn it at school that afternoon. He showed me at dinner and said, "That's us, Dad. I made the sun big so we'd be warm." He's 9 years old. I thought about being 3 days old, and what a person inherits from those first 3 days, even when they can't remember them. I thought about Roy Duvain, who'd coached my little league team and taught me to check the corners when you mop a floor. I thought about Delia, who'd held my hand at both their funerals and then gone herself 2 years later. I thought about the night Theo was born, the weight of him in my arms, and the decision I made in that hospital room when his mother said she wasn't staying. The decision that wasn't even a decision, really, because some things you just know. I folded the letter carefully, put it back in the envelope, set it on the table beside Theo's drawing. Then I called the number on the card. She was waiting in the school courtyard. When I got there the next morning, 30 minutes before my shift, the courtyard was empty. The kids didn't come out until 8:30, and she was sitting on the bench near the oak tree, with her hands folded in her lap. I sat down across from her. She started to speak, and I held up one hand, not unkindly. "I read it," I said. "All of it." She nodded. I don't want the money. I said it plain, no drama in it. I want you to do something useful with it. A school somewhere, a scholarship, whatever fits. She blinked. I could see she'd expected the other conversation, the one where I was angry, or the one where I was grateful, or some version that let her off the hook by giving her a clear role to play. She hadn't expected this one. I have one question, I said. She waited. In 44 years, did you ever tell anyone? Not a therapist. Not a hired stranger who found Roy and Delia and stopped at the front door. Did you ever look someone who loved you in the eye and say, I have a son? The courtyard was very quiet. Somewhere down the hall, the floor buffer started up. She looked at her hands for a long moment. When she looked back up, her eyes were wet. No, she said. I never did. I nodded. That was the answer. That was the whole thing. I'm not angry, I told her, and I meant it. I had good people. I had a decent life. And I have a boy, Theo, he's 9, who draws pictures of our house with a sun the size of the whole page, so we'll be warm. I paused. But you asked me what I need. What I need is for you to understand what it costs to stay. Not the money. Not the distance and the watching from down the block. The staying. Every Tuesday morning when it's hard. Every night you're tired and they need something anyway. Every year when they get taller and you think, I did not leave. I was here. She pressed her fingers to her mouth. Not performing grief, just holding herself together the way a person does when the truth finally finds the cracked place. I stayed, I said. Not because I'm a hero. Because he's mine, and that's the whole reason. We sat there in the morning quiet. The oak tree above us was putting out its first leaves. Thin and pale green, the color of things just beginning. After a while she asked if she could meet him sometime. Not as a grandmother, she said quickly. Just to meet him. To know what staying looks like. I thought about Theo's drawing. The 2 stick figures with the matching smiles. The enormous sun. I'll think on it, I said. That's honest. She nodded. It was enough. I stood up and buttoned my jacket. The hallways inside would be filling up in 20 minutes, and the east corridor needed the buffer run before the kids came through. I had corners to check. Cal, she said as I turned. I looked back. He's lucky, she said quietly. Your boy. I picked up my key ring from the bench. No, I said. We both are. Then I went inside to do my job.